Hey there, guys. How's it going? So yeah, this past weekend it was quite eventful for boxing. You had Deontay Wilder winning by first round knockout against Brazil. Really don't have anything to say about that. It speaks for itself. And it wasn't really much of a surprise, was it? Billy Joe Saunders won the WBO super middleweight title against some German bin man, and yeah, nearly got knocked out along the way. So yeah, don't really know what else to say about that either. A very predictable result. But the fight I did cover, and the fight I really do want to talk about, man, is Josh Taylor becoming IBF light welterweight champion, becoming the first Scottish world champion since Ricky Burns a few years back. You guys will remember about 3 years ago I made a video predicting that Josh Taylor would likely be Scotland's next world champion, and been following his career since the beginning. Really, really big up Josh Taylor, man. Really good performance. Faced a very dangerous champion in Baranchyk, a guy who was game, a guy who was in great shape, who had won every single one of his fights, most of them by knockout, and was coming off some pretty good performances. Um, yeah, it was just a really good fight too. It was very entertaining. I thought that Josh had some problems early on in the fight. I felt that Baranchik's power and Baranchik's aggression was kind of getting to him a little bit early on, and he did mark him up a bit. But in that sixth round, everything turned. I mean, Josh Taylor caught him with an absolute peach of a right hand. A pure crisp and short counter right hook, which just dropped Baranchyk on his ass, and he then put him down again in that round. And from then on, it was just, you could tell that the momentum of the fight had swung in Josh's favour, and he was landing some crisp counter shots. The body work was beautiful, the uppercuts, the counter punching, the jab from long range. I mean, it was just a real exhibition of his ability from that point. Um, you know, Ivan Baranchyk did make a bit of a comeback later in the fight. I gave him the 11th and 12th. I thought he just outworked Josh in those rounds, but I thought at that point the work had been done, and Taylor just needed to survive those rounds to secure the win, and that's what happened. He got the victory, unanimous decision. Very good performance, man. And yeah, he's Scotland's new world champion. I'm buzzing about that. But he now progresses to the final of the World Boxing Super Series, and he's going to be fighting Regis Prograis, who is also undefeated. Now, where do I even begin talking about that fight, man? Where do I even? I mean, I just wanted to really give my initial thoughts on it, and initially how I can envision that fight going and what I think both guys could maybe do to achieve victory, and yeah, just talk about it a bit. So, Josh Taylor against Regis Prograis. I mean, as of now, I don't know where the fight will take place, whether it'll be in Scotland or in America. I don't know. It really is up to the promoters. I mean, the Sauerlands are the ones running the show, so it's really up to them. But as for how do I see the fight going, now, if you guys had followed my channel and you'd seen the videos I've made about Josh Taylor in the past, you guys will know that I've always been very honest when it comes to predicting his fights. I picked him to beat Baranchyk, and I was very confident in that too. Picked him to beat Ryan Martin. I picked him to beat Miguel Vasquez. I picked him to beat Victor Postal. I was very confident every time that Josh Taylor would win those fights, and I said so in my prediction videos. This time, however, going in against Regis Prograis, I've got to be honest, guys. I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure. I was watching Regis Prograis a few weeks back. I saw the fight against, what he did against Kirill Relic, and obviously we know from what Kirill Relic has done in the past, we know how tough and how durable he is, and the way that Regis Prograis broke him down and took him out so quickly, I thought was quite shocking, quite surprising. And if you look at how he just walked through Julius Ndongo, I mean, Julius Ndongo had proven himself as a fairly capable fighter, a guy with power from distance who could box a bit. And yeah, Regis Prograis just walked through him like he was nothing, man. And watching highlights of Prograis and watching fights of his, he's one of these guys who up close is very effective. He's very good at riding with punches. He seems to just make punches miss by a ball hair and then counter on the inside. And his offense up close is very, very dangerous. And he's very powerful too, man. The power he carries in that left hand is very dangerous. I would say that he's probably one of the biggest punchers in the light welterweight division right now. Probably the biggest puncher that Josh Taylor will have faced. I mean, I know that Baranchyk is a very big puncher, and Postal can punch too, but I don't think those guys hit anyone near as hard as Regis Prograis. So going in against Regis Prograis, I think Josh is going to have his hands full. I think it's going to be a very tough fight for Josh. I think Josh is going to have to keep it long range. I think Josh is going to have an intense training camp. He really needs to have the stamina for this one because it's going to be very difficult to get a stoppage against a guy like Regis Prograis. So I think that Josh will need to prepare for a hard 12-round fight. I'm not so sure if he's going to do it, if I'm being honest. I'm not saying he won't do it. I'm not saying he can't do it. I do think he is the more skilled boxer of the two, just in terms of boxing fundamentals and boxing on the outside. But Josh Taylor, to me, I think he needs a bit more experience. I really do. If I was to see him in one or two more fights, because he's only had about 14 pro fights, so if he were to have another couple of pro fights before fighting Prograis, maybe I'd be a bit more confident. But right now, I see Prograis. I see Prograis as a slight favourite right now. Slight favourite. I just think that up close, those slight nuances to what he does, like where he's slipping punches and countering on the inside, and he's able to push you back effortlessly. He's able to take away the jab. He's able to make the most of his stance and things like that. I just think it's going to be a hard fight for Josh Taylor, and I'm not 100% sure if Josh Taylor has the physical strength or the ability up close to deal with Prograis. And I know that Taylor can fight up close. He's done it again in the past against like Miguel Vasquez, for example, and against Victor Postal. Taylor was able to handle himself up close, and Taylor was able to shorten his punches inside. But that's okay when you're dealing with like a taller, lankier opponent. If you're fighting a guy like Regis Prograis, who's very compact and very physically strong, it's going to be very difficult to fight that way against him. It's going to be very difficult to match him on the inside. So I'm very concerned about Regis Prograis. I'm very concerned. I think he's going to be Josh's toughest fight yet. I could totally see Josh getting dropped in the fight. I could see him getting dropped and hurt. I could see him getting cut. In the Baranchyk fight, he got a swollen eye, he got a nosebleed and stuff like that. He was being damaged and he was being stunned. And I think that Regis Prograis is a more skilled power puncher than Baranchyk, whereas Baranchyk's a relentless type of guy who hits very hard. I think that Prograis is more skilled and has even more power. So I'm concerned about that fight for Josh. I really am. Obviously, I'm rooting for him to win. What does Prograis need to do? I think Prograis definitely needs to make it a fight. I think that on the outside, just boxing behind a jab, I'd make Josh the favourite. So for Prograis to win, and I have no doubt that Prograis will come to fight and come to trade on the inside. And I just think that that's what he needs to do to win, and I think he knows it. And Josh to me just needs to try and make it more of a technical fight and keep it long, because it's going to be very difficult to fight up close against somebody like Prograis, man. So that's pretty much how I see the fight at this stage. I make Prograis a slight favourite, but I don't doubt Josh's ability to outpoint him and win the fight by decision. I just think that it's a tough ask. It really is, especially coming off a really hard, grueling fight like that against Baranchyk. It's going to be interesting to see. As for Baranchyk, I'd like to see him back in the mix, man. I mean, he definitely showed his stamina. I mean, he finished the fight very strongly against Josh Taylor. He's shown his power, obviously, very powerful puncher. Got a good chin, got good powers of recovery. Physically strong, compact. He's like he kind of reminds me of like a Ricky Hatton type, a real pressure fighter who winds up those hooks and looks to outwork you to the body and looks to swarm you in the ring and pressure you and push you back. And, he's very entertaining, and I'm sure he'll be in some big fights in the future. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think anyway, and thanks for watching. God bless.